Mastering You. Are you an entrepreneur, an author, a coach, a speaker, someone who has a message that you want to get to others? Today we are going to be looking at emotional mastery, 3 simple steps that you can follow to get control of your emotions and to really be able to immediately change the emotions of yourself, the emotions of others, and ultimately the emotions of audiences. If this is something that you would like to understand to increase your emotional intelligence as you in your communication, in your business, in your selling, then today we are going to be looking at just that. Why is emotional mastery so essential? First of all, the quality of your life comes down to the quality of the emotions that you feel on a consistent, regular basis. When you upgrade your emotions, you upgrade your life. And if you are a communicator, if you are someone who writes books, creates content online, or speaks to audiences, then the quality of your communication comes down to the quality of your ability to create in others specific emotions that will help transform their life. Why? Because people do things for one reason and one reason only, because they feel like it. This is one of the foundational lessons to recognize that if you are a communicator who's seeking to influence people's decisions, whether that is in a sales call 101, or selling from stage 1 to many, or you are trying to sell yourself to learn a new skill, to apply something or do something difficult, to eliminate procrastination once and for all, the ability to quickly change your emotional states from feeling afraid and discouraged or reluctant to do something to the ability to feel empowered, enthusiastic, and excited to be able to do that difficult, disagreeable duty and actually enjoy the process of doing it comes down to your level of emotional intelligence, your level of emotional mastery. This is something that is so powerful for us, because when you really look at in my experience, I found that there was years in my entrepreneurial journey. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 10 years old. I've been fascinated with digital marketing since I was 12. And there was times in my early years, I had 16 failed business attempts that I was trying to start these different businesses, and things weren't really working. I would learn things at every failed business attempt, but it wasn't until I found my first mentor and I started to learn about emotional mastery, and I started to understand more about how our mind actually works, how to use the mind in a way that can bring about decisions that could change my life and others. That's when God blessed me with a 6-figure family business, making $10,000 a month in my early 20s. And I believe that emotional mastery is one of the highest paid skills in the marketplace. Those who have learned to master life at a very high level are those who have learned to master their emotions at a very high level and in a very consistent way. Because and before this, during those other business attempts, I didn't really understand emotions. I remember when I first started studying about emotional mastery and understanding how to apply this practically in my life and in my influence to others, what I started to do was I realized that I didn't even know what emotions were or how to define emotions. And the truth is, did you know that there are over 4,000 words in the English language to describe human emotion, but the average person only experiences about 6 of them a day? I would hear this and I'm like, this is incredible. And to be honest, if I were to be asked, what are the different emotions I go through, or what are the emotions that I want to create in content or otherwise, I would say that I don't even know if I could describe name 30 emotions that existed. And this is a challenge, because many reasons why content creators struggle at growing, following, or being able to capture people's attention is because their content is not emotional enough. I remember taking a course. I paid $1,000 to attend this contagious content course. It was about what are the traits of virality, studying what are the common factors that viral content has. And what they were saying, these people who have acquired over 5 million subscribers on YouTube, who have been able to blow up and create viral content again and again and again consistently, because they had a system, they had a plan, they had studied and understood what are the traits of virality, what makes your content, your message to move the multitudes rapidly and with momentum. Boils down to one trait. The most viral content online is content that can evoke an emotional response. Your ability to evoke emotions, to move people is emotionally, to speak to them emotionally, is going to determine how much people want to share your content. And part of the reason why is because we are not just logical beings. We, as human beings, are very emotional creatures. We have both our thoughts and our feelings combined that make up the moral character. So by learning, when you learn how to move people emotionally, you can start moving their decisions. You can start, it's going to create in them sharing emotions that they're going to want to click the share button and say, you got to share this with other people. Which, by the way, as you're listening to this and at any time that you feel that this is beneficial, I want you to click the share button, go share with other entrepreneurs and friends who you see could benefit from this. Now, as I'm realizing I don't really understand how emotions work and what they are, I had to first understand, what is emotion? To master emotion, we have to be able to define emotion, because this is what Craig Rochelle, a millionaire mentor of mine, taught me, is that you cannot defeat an enemy that you are unable to effectively label. If you cannot label the enemy, you cannot defeat the enemy. And what is emotional? I would say, what is emotion? Emotion is energy in motion. That's really what it is. So the number one thing that creates emotion is motion. Motion, movement, your physiology. There's something that happens when you move your body, when you change your facial instructions. We have over 40 facial expressions in your face, and how many of them do you use intentionally? And it's the posture. It's the way that you sit. It's the way that you stand. It's the way. One of the reasons why I like to stand in videos is because I have more energy. It is more. I can control my emotions better and my energy level, my enthusiasm, as I'm able to share with you, which is why I prefer, personally, to record videos standing than sitting. People do it different ways, but motion creates emotion. And one of the fastest ways to change the emotion quickly is by changing your motion, changing the way you stand, you're sitting, or movements. Because if there's a slight shift in motion, there'll be a slight shift in emotion. If there's a radical shift in motion, there'll be a radical shift in emotions. And as you're able to do this, you're able to create decisions that are different, because people decide based on emotions. And it is in the moment of decision that your destiny is decided. It's in the moment of decision that the destiny of your audience is decided, whether that's an audience of one or an audience of many. Your ability to influence people's decisions will directly affect the size of your business, the size of your team, the size of your influence, the size of your impact. If you want to grow your influence, you need to grow your skills. What skills? High-income skills. Which are high-income skills? Public speaking is a high-income skill. Emotional mastery is one of the most powerful high-income skills. The ability to influence, to persuade, and to sell other people. Did you know that all selling, the science of selling is also the science of leading to buying behaviors, buying decisions, is the same science that leads to all behaviors and all decisions. When you learn how to influence people's behaviors, you not only will increase your sales, you can also apply this to leading a team, to victory, to being able to coach others into accomplishing their goals. If you're a coach, this is so essential because people are coming to you. They're not just coming with these tactics and strategies and these steps, but there's also emotions that are holding people back from reaching their goals. So for you to be an effective coach, one who can get quick transformations for your students, who can turn them around and deliver on the promises that you make, tactics alone are not going to transform your clients. It is learning how to address their emotions, redirect their emotions, change their emotional state quick. Then that will allow you to be able to help them to have success faster, have greater success testimonials. You're able to use those testimonials in the marketing to be able to share to grow your coaching program. And as we look at this, one of the reasons why I say that emotional mastery is a high income skill is because money is a high energy result. And emotion is energy in motion. So if money is a high energy result, never does a high energy result flow to a low energy source. What are examples of low energy, low emotions? Things like discouragement, a lack, focusing on scarcity and disappointment, and just surrounding ourselves with what's missing. When we are in this frame of mind, to looking at what we're not doing well, how we're failing, and how things aren't working, and why nothing works, how are you going to take the action necessary to thrive in your business, to thrive in your relationships as you're networking with people at events, or to really to land paid speaking engagements, or when you speak to audience, to actually move their emotions enough where they would want to engage and say yes to what you offer, your call to action, whether it's signing up with your program in the back of the room, or whether it's subscribing, or whether it's going to an opt-in to a funnel to be able to accept your lead magnet, whatever the case is. If you're unable to manage your emotions and the emotions of your audience, then it's not going to happen. If you don't move people emotionally, it's the logic that does not change people. It's the emotion mixed with logic. And what I mean by that is recognizing that it's story. It is story that allows you to create an emotional state in other people. And as you create that emotion, that's what allows you to shift their behavior. For example, I was coaching an entrepreneur, and they were really having a difficult time with taking on this new leadership role that they needed to step into in order to reach their goals and to have higher levels, next level influence. But one of the stories that they were telling me is that while they were going through the struggle in 5th grade, they were in class, and how they had a difficult time in class, and this particular entrepreneur had dyslexia, and they weren't really aware of what that was as much back in the day, but she was really, it's like any time that she was put in a place where she's in a room where she's being asked questions, or whether she is having to answer or speak up during these group settings, then it would like trace her back. It's like she was a child again in 5th grade and just going through some of these horrors. And as she's going through the story, there was prior to this, I've worked with her on this before, and I saw this video. It was really interesting about this guy who wrote a book about showing how dyslexia is like a supercar. And it's like most people don't understand how when people are dyslexic, it's not that they are damaged, they're broken, they're not good, or they're not good as other people. It's actually that they have a super brain. It's like they have a Ferrari mind, and the miseducational, misdirectional government indoctrination camps, child prisons, they are not designed to handle people who have super brains. They're designed to create workers. They're designed to create people who do what they're told, who follow a mold in this cookie cutter way. People of dyslexia, there's a lot of highly successful entrepreneurs who have dyslexia, like Dean Graziosi has done over $1 billion in sales. He's published over 10 books, and he mixes up the words. And he's still figured out how to be a New York Times best-selling author of multiple books. Sir Richard Branson is dyslexic too, and he's a multi-billionaire. And Richard Branson says, well, I'm dyslexic, so I'm going to have to work harder, and I will. Other people, they see, well, because I'm dyslexic, that means that it's going to be harder for me, so I can't. Two totally different beliefs. So I sent this video a few days later, previously, about this Ferrari analogy, and it was really encouraging, and it was powerful. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. So now I'm talking to the entrepreneur, and in the coaching session I'm going through, and I'm sharing, and she's describing how she was really afraid when people called on her. She didn't always have the answer they were looking for, and then she was always afraid, like, that's the worst thing that could happen. She was just hoping whenever the teacher was engaging with the class, it's like, please don't pick on me, please don't pick on me. And she was so afraid, and she was describing to me, she was so afraid that if they would pick on her and she would have to answer, then they would find out. And she was building up to this, and I was like, and then I interrupted. I said that they'd find out that you have a Ferrari mind. And she just started busting up laughing. She's like, okay, all right. It's like, yes. But what that did is she was about to say something that was limiting. And this story this scarcity story that would prevent her and make her feel like she can't take that next step in her leadership. But once we change the label, once we change the word, once we change the image, a picture in her mind, then she was able to see, wait a second, it's able to rewrite the stories. And what we find is that the facts didn't change. What changed was the story she said about the facts. The facts didn't change. What changed was the label, was the image, the picture surrounding the events. And so when you have the right frame, when you have the right focus, the facts don't matter. And you say, what do you mean by that, Enoch? You mean that the facts don't matter much? No, I mean the facts don't matter at all. Because when you have the right frame, the facts don't matter. Because there's two sides of every fact. There's two aspects. There is an aspect of the fact that with every weakness has an equal and opposite strength. And with every strength has an equal and opposite weakness. So depending on which side you focus on is what you're going to feel. Why? Because feelings follow your focus. When you feel disempowered, you feel like you can't, you feel unable, that is because we're focusing on impossibilities, or we're focusing on facts, and it's not the fact, it's an aspect of the fact that makes you feel discouraged, and you start doubting your ability to go forward. So by changing the words, we change the emotions. And this is where one of the greatest gifts that I give my students is I don't accept their scarcity stories. I don't accept their limitations. Here's why. Because when you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. Most people spend majority of their time fighting for their limitations. Few people fight for their liberations, the things that they want, the freedoms. And I see myself as a freedom fighter. I'm someone who's going to fight for the freedom and liberty of my clients, my students. And if everyone around them has told them that they can't, they're not good enough, they're not able, they're not worthy, and say all of these limitations on them, I'm going to be a voice for my students to show, no, you can do this. Not only can you do it, there's other people who are just like you, who's been able to overcome, and all we got to do is find out what they did, and here's how they did it, and help them to feel, I could do that. That's the gift that I give to my students. And if you're a coach, if you're an author, if you're a speaker, a content creator, your ability to help your audience to feel, hey, I could do that, is going to dramatically open up your doors of opportunities to serve people. So when we're looking at one of the other reasons why money is a high energy result, and when you're looking at never does a high energy result flow to a low energy source, and low energy is things like discouragement and just impossibility, focusing on scarcity, lack, poverty, these like, I can't, I don't know, I don't have enough resources, I don't have enough time, I don't know what to do, I don't have enough support, or all of these the focus, these statements, these words create meaning, and meaning creates emotion. You can write that down. Words equal meaning, and meaning equals emotion. When you change your words, you change your emotion. When you upgrade your words, you upgrade your emotions. And when we look at this, is as long as we're using words that create low energy, that create disempowerment, that make you feel like you can't, or discouragement, it's often the labels are what create the discouragement or courage that we have. And money is a result. Money is like a receipt for the value that you have added in the marketplace. And when you understand the reason why this is so important is because that value added to the marketplace. How do you add value? You add value by solving valuable problems. When you are able to deliver a solution to the marketplace that the marketplace finds valuable, then you're able to, that's how you add value. And the marketplace will exchange the money in their pocket for the solution that in your mind, in your mouth, in your hands, in your inventory that you have. And when you really think about it, think about anything, like every dollar that you possibly want, every dollar that you desire to spend for the vacations you care about, spend on the people you care about, to invest in yourself, your business, to have more growth, to live in the location where you want to live, to have the freedom for your time, and to live the lifestyle that you want to live. Every dollar that you would ever need for that, or ever want for those, for what you would want to pay for, the options and choices that money affords you, is right now in somebody else's pocket. If you really think about that, literally, if you want to buy anything, do anything, it's already in someone else's pocket. Your job is to find a way to add enough value to those people who have the money that you could use to spend, and solve a big enough problem for them that they would be passionate about paying you for. Most entrepreneurs start by choosing a problem that the entrepreneur is passionate about solving. That's a terrible place to go. Just because you're passionate about solving or teaching or speaking about something doesn't mean the marketplace is passionate about paying you for it. You have to make sure that it is something that the marketplace is passionate about paying you for, and then secondarily something that you're passionate about solving, or something that you could become passionate about solving. When you're able to communicate to others and you see the problem, you're able to solve that problem either by acquiring a skill, because how do you solve problems? With skills. Skills allow you to solve problems. Copywriting allows you to turn persuasive words on pages, so when people go to websites, those viewers convert into buyers. That's copywriting. Public speaking allows you to influence a multitude, one to many, so you can influence them to think differently, to think bigger, to grow their family, their health, their relationships, their business, whatever it is. These are skills that help solve valuable problems. And when you're able to apply these skills, you can solve valuable problems. And why do I say valuable? Because not every problem pays the same when it's solved. So if you want to make a premium with your advice, your content, your frameworks, your message, then learn to solve valuable problems with those messages. And so if money equals value, and the way and solving problems, I would submit to you, is all based on emotions. If you're in a lousy emotion, if you're having lousy feelings, what kind of solutions do you think you're going to create? You're going to create lousy solutions. And if you are If you are delivering lousy solutions to the marketplace, what kind of money do you think you're going to get paid for lousy solutions? Lousy money, which is lousy or no money. And that's why, but if you are in a great emotional state, what kind of decisions or solutions do you think you can find when faced with big problems? Great solutions, great decisions. And when you're in a great state, you can make great decisions that solve great problems, and your payments will be great payments. This is why, one of the reasons why emotional mastery is so valuable and so important to understand. Emotional mastery determines your ability to sell your products, your programs. It determines your ability to lead a team that is going to work towards these objectives, because there are things that people struggle about in doing objectives, in working towards common goals. Money alone is not when you're leading a team. Money alone is not the only motivating factor to leading a team towards a common desired outcome in the future. There's fears, there's challenges, there's emotions, there's things that you could address. And I know that before I started understanding how to shift other people's emotions, sometimes we'd have objectives we need to do as a team, but my team would be it's new and it's fearful or it's difficult, and so they have a hard time taking on learning the new skills. But once I learned how to address their emotion, shift their emotion, turn the fearfulness into excitement, now they're ready to take on new roles and to learn new skills and be able to solve more valuable problems in the organization. So I've had a team since 2014. Right now we have a team of about 8 people, and you could do infinitely more together than you could alone. So learning how to lead a team and understanding how to shift people's emotions so that they turn their fears into focusing on possibilities, that will help to increase the productivity of your team. And Proverbs 16:32, it says, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. He that ruleth his own spirit than he that taketh a city." Because when you look at taking a city, or it's like an achievement or accomplishment, what good is it if you could achieve and accomplish so many things and you can't even rule your own spirit? You can't even handle your own emotions. Because what happens when there is a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and then you close that gap, what happens immediately afterwards? You create another gap. Sometimes you might enjoy it for a season. A lot of times people think it's the achievement that's going to bring them the joy, the happiness, the peace, that when I arrive, then I'll be happy. If I could only get this income level, then I'll be happy. If I could only get this product to the market, then I'll be happy. If I could only get this speaking engagement, then I'll be happy. Or if there's something out in the distance that if I could only arrive at that destination, then I'll be happy. But the reality is that once you close that gap and you reach the destination, immediately you set another gap, because that's how humans are. So what you want to learn to do is learn to enjoy the process, not just the destination. Learn to how can you make the process easy and you can enjoy the process of doing it. Enjoy the journey, because if you put your happiness off in the distance, it's like a mirage. You'll never be able to reach it. It's like you're walking in the desert and you see an oasis and it's like so close and you're thirsty, and as you continue to walk towards it, you realize it was just a mirage the whole time. It's a figment of the imagination. You never reach that future happy moment. So the way that people sometimes define success, winners love to win. And if you are someone, if you're watching this, I know that you love to win. You value success. So define success in a way that you can win. Use the words that will allow you to feel like you have accomplished, to feel the accomplishment at every step in the journey, because there will always be opportunities for more. There's always be greater possibilities. Like I was coaching someone yesterday, and I was like, do you feel like you were succeeding? And we went through the last 3 things that she just did, and she was talking about other people who are already succeeding, and it was like implying that she wasn't. And I was like, okay, well, did you succeed at what you were doing 3 hours ago? Yes. Did you succeed what you were doing 2 hours ago? Yes. Do you feel that you're succeeding at what you were just doing? She's like, well, not as much as I would like to. I was like, okay. So if you were succeeding, and then she's like, well, actually, I guess, yes, I am succeeding because I'm doing my best, and I'm being authentically who I am while I'm doing it. And she's like, that's how I like to define success. And she started to feel better. And I was sharing like, well, what if, and I asked her, do you believe that people who value success, or people who are successful, want to have more success? She's like, yes. She's like, wait a second. But at what point is there enough success or too much success? She's like, there's no point. There's no time. I'm like, well, when do you say that I've arrived, I've enough, and I don't want any more success? I don't want any more success in my health. I don't want any more success in my relationships. I don't want success in my family, success in my finances. I don't want any more success. And she's like, well, you don't get like that. It's like, okay, so people who are succeeding at a high level, they want to succeed more than they are. Was that true? She's like, yeah, that's true. Then what if the reason why you want more success is because you're already succeeding at a high level? She's like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And this was, and realizing too that a lot of times it's the label and the way that we define success, or it's the way that we define things. But realizing, and I was saying that, okay, let's say, like, if at any point you're never going to come to a point where you feel that you would like to, like, that there's always another level of success. So you can't measure your success by the desire to do more, but by success only stacks on the foundation of success. Why this matters is because you cannot, so many people are trying to build success on the foundation of failure. They're looking at what they're not doing, what they don't have. I can't afford, don't have time, don't know how, I don't understand, I don't this. And they build a foundation of scarcity and think they're going to build a structure that's solid enough to build the success that they want in their finances, in their business, in their influence, in their communications, in building a platform that they're able to speak to the multitudes. But they're building this foundation of scarcity, thinking that by focusing on all this lack, they're going to somehow have the success that they desire. But really what that's doing is it's grabbing a whip and it's whipping yourself in the back. It's not motivating you to have the emotional mastery, the high energy required to build the success of your dreams in whatever the objective is. So it is by recognizing the progress that you have, labeling things as achievements, micro victories, celebrating those micro victories every step of the journey that allows you to get to where you want to go. I will promise you one thing, that if you continue to focus on what you don't have, can't afford, don't have enough time, and what you don't know, what you've never done before, if you focus on scarcity, it will only create more scarcity. In fact, Matthew 25, Jesus taught this principle about this law of appreciation. And it's my favorite parable that Jesus ever taught. And he was talking about how the parable of the 10 talents, how he gave to one man 5 talents, he gave to another man 2 talents, and the third he gave 1 talent. And the man who had 5 talents doubled it and got 10 talents. And Jesus said, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few. Now I'm going to make you faithful over cities. And now he gave him 10 cities to rule over. It's like, wow, that is quite the gap. It's because talents used are talents multiplied. And what are talents? Talents are skills. Talents are resources. Talents, knowledge is a talent. Money is a talent. Influence is a talent. Time is a talent. So when you use these talents, they multiply. So money goes to those who multiply and put to use the money. And the man who had 2 talents, he doubled it and gave back 4 talents. So God said, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord, and I'm going to make you faithful over more cities." But the man who had 1 talent, the smallest number that can be numbered, he took that talent, he buried it in the earth. He says, "I was afraid." So he didn't use the talents. And it's so interesting that the Lord came back and he said, "Thou wicked and slothful servants." And in Matthew 25, verse 27, it says, "Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him that had 1, and give it to him that hath 10 talents. Wait a second. I thought the goal is to take from the rich and give to the poor, those who have abundance and give to those who have scarcity. And Robin Hood would teach you, and it's so interesting that we are, like, as society is programmed by Hollywood to believe that like those who are wealthy, who have an abundance, they're the greedy, the stingy, the selfish. They're often, like in the superheroes, they're often like the villains who are like the bad guys. And you see like Superman's arch nemesis is Lex Luthor, and he's the billionaire. And you see the businessman who's bad and trying to kill the world, and you see like Spider-Man, and the Green Goblin is this big business bad guy who's also trying to destroy the world. And you see so many times, like in Robin Hood, the whole premise of Robin Hood is teaching communism, not capitalism, which is Robin Hood's the hero who steals from the wealthy lords and business owners and entrepreneurs, takes the money and scatters them out to the poor, and provides for the needy, and has like this welfare system. And it's like, many people call Robin Hood a hero. I don't. I call Robin Hood a thief. Robin Hood is stealing from those who are making and giving from those who are taking, where we take this mentality, the belief that we adopt from communistic ideas, from the government indoctrination camps, from Hollywood, and then we apply it to our lives and think, well, the people owe us something. The world doesn't owe you anything. We take these ideas and we think, well, if the person has 10 talents and the guy has 1 talent, isn't it the right thing to do to give from that 10 and give to the 1? That's not what Jesus did. In fact, it's interesting. Jesus took from the poor and gave to the rich. Why? Because Jesus wants to teach that talents used are talents multiplied. If you don't use it, you will what? Lose it. So we find that emotions are a talent that you can use intentionally. If you don't learn to use your emotions, then your emotions will use you. But what's fascinating is in verse 29, it says, "For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have an abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath." So there's this law of momentum, that there's a reason why the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And it's not evil. It's a biblical principle that Jesus himself taught, that those who have will have more abundance. Those who have not will be taken away even that which they have. Now, how does this apply to you? Because speaking is a momentum game. Business is a momentum game. Content creation is a momentum game. And sales is about momentum. When you create momentum, and momentum is forward, is the feeling of forward progress. It actually creates more progress. Did you know that even by the act of recognizing your progress creates more progress? This is where I'm sharing. Success can only build on the foundation of success. If you do not focus and collect the successes and stack the successes of your past, then you will not be able to build the foundations that you desire. You have to be able to identify and label these things as achievements, because who defines success? You're the only person who is able to define success. Or do you want your father to define success for you? Do you want your friends to define success? Your leaders? Or like, who do you want? Who are you going to give the power to define what success looks like for you? And why would you define it in any other way than a way that you can win? And people think that when they do something, then they'll succeed. But in reality, it's when you recognize your success. The facts don't have to change. It's the frame that you put around the facts. It's the same. Contents. It's the same experience. You just change your expectations about that experience, and that's what changes everything. So learn to appreciate that. And the law of appreciation states that what you appreciate will appreciate in value, and what you underappreciate will depreciate in value. So it's very interesting when you're looking at creating emotion. One of the most powerful tools of persuasion that you have is, and this one tool allows you to create emotion on command, like automatic, and it creates emotions that are so strong, people don't know what to do with it. And that is, I would say, this tool is a paintbrush. You're like, paintbrush, what do I mean by that? It's a paintbrush that is painting in the canvas of the minds of your hearers, whether it's your minds, whether it's another person's mind, or it's an audience's minds. So your ability to paint pictures into the minds of your hearers with your words will make all the difference of the emotions. Why? Because when it's visual, it's emotional. Photos create feelings. Photos create feelings. So learn to speak in word pictures. Learn to speak, and you're like, okay, what's a word picture? What does that look like? Well, instead of me saying, this is going to blow your mind, or this is, instead you would say, like, your mind after what I'm about to share you is going to be doing jumping jacks and firecrackers. You feel that? See, people smile, they giggle, and it's because you felt something, because you saw something. Realize that emotions are the result of seeing. So learn to use photos to paint the pictures, and really paint a picture of an outcome that they desire, a compelling vision of the future. To learn to speak in terms not of what is, but what could be. This uses the faculty of imagination, because knowledge, Einstein said, imagination is infinitely more powerful than knowledge, because knowledge is what is, imagination is what could be. Start talking about what could be, because without a vision, the people perish. Without a vision, the emotions will perish, their finances will perish, their fitness will perish, their focus will perish. Learn to speak and visualize what the future can look like, and paint that picture to them. I'll give you an example. King Solomon was the wisest and wealthiest man that ever lived. And he understood a thing or two about business and about communication and how the mind likes to be communicated to. The problem is, many coaches, many speakers, they get so caught up on their subjects that they don't spend any time of how the mind actually wants to receive information. So understand, like, Solomon knew how the human mind worked, and he spoke in so many pictures and metaphors and the simplicity that people can understand. In Proverbs 25:28, he said, we just read Matthew 25:28. This is Proverbs 25:28. Here's what it says. He that hath no rule over his own spirit or his emotions is like a city that is broken down and without walls. I want you to think about that. What happens to a city that has no defense, no walls, and it's just broken down? It gets attacked, and those attackers come, and people steal away everything that is valuable. And often they leave the place trashed. Now, have you ever seen an abandoned building that was totally trashed before? Maybe it was a house, maybe it was a storefront that the owners just abandoned. And what happens is sometimes they'll throw rocks in them, they'll have busted up windows, some boards, and sometimes the doors are wide open. And I've seen that when the doors are open, there's no walls, then people come in, and it's like anything that is of value gets stolen very quick, right? And what happens to the leftovers? People go in there, sometimes they'll party, maybe they'll do drugs, maybe they'll do things in the dark, and they'll trash the place. And you see that it looks all ran down, the paint's fallen off, and the windows are broken, and there's no defense, there's no lock on the door, and it's just trash all over. Did you know that when you are unable to master your emotions, this is what your mind starts to look like? It looks like an abandoned building that has been destroyed. Because if you're unable to rule your own spirit, if you're unable to control your emotions and the emotions of others, then you will be like a city that is broken down without walls, like a building that's been abandoned and trashed and broken into and stolen everything valuable from your minds. Now, what are the things that are valuable? When you allow circumstances, people, and these different events to steal your joy, you allow people to steal your opportunities that you could capitalize on when you're in a better state of mind. You give other people the power of influence over you. You give people, people will steal your peace. You allow them to steal your great decisions, your possibilities, and people are stealing everything that is valuable to your mind, your life, your business, when you are not in control of your emotions, when you allow them to run wild, or allow them to go into a channel of discouragement, doubt, perplexity. But by learning how to master your emotions, you'll be able to be like a fortified city, a fortified, a fortress. You'll be able to create a financial fortress around your family and around your future. You'll be able to make something that is so airtight that your decisions are in harmony with your desires. And you're able to work continually, being a type of person that closes the gap and closes another gap and closes another gap of where you are and where you want to be. So you become better and better every day. Did you see the word pictures that I just used? You see how that was visual? How many of you guys felt something there? Let me know in the chat, just type yes. And I see some thumbs up. The reason is because when it is visual, it's emotional. Speak in photos and you will communicate feelings. Learn to do that in your communication. That alone is infinitely more valuable. I mean, it is extremely valuable that you can apply if that's the only thing you took away from this training. So, and remember, if you're finding this valuable, go ahead and share this with other people. Who do you know that can benefit from this training? Let them know, invite them to where you're viewing, and let them in on some of this training too. So let's talk about influencing people's decisions in sales. When you look at all selling is transferring belief. Why? Because every behavior is belief driven. Every behavior is belief driven, literally. So, for instance, people think that the majority of helping people change is knowing, if they just knew how to change, they would change. But that's not the case. It is like why to change, is 80% of all the results of your life, all the results of the people that you're speaking to, when you're coaching people, when you're teaching, when you're communicating. And 20% of changing people's lives and their decisions is going to be how to. It's going to be the steps. So what this looks like is like, I'll give you an example. If all people needed to do was the steps, all they needed to know was how to change, then everybody would be fit, feeling fit and fabulous, and they would be financially free. But we realize that when people are overweight, most people know that the way to lose weight is good diet and exercise. But why don't people do those steps? Because the steps are only 20%. The stories are the 80% of the results. And that's the why to. That's the reasons, because reasons reap results. And when people are, so there's beliefs about weight. I believe that the chocolate cake tastes so much better than the green drink. Or the belief is healthy food tastes nasty, or healthy food is gross. And if I believe healthy food is gross, then what am I going to not want to put in my mouth? Healthy food. So, and gross is an emotion. So it's the feeling that I have towards healthy food that makes me avoid it. Because everyone's going to be moving away from pain or towards pleasure. Think junk food is comfort food. I like to eat I eat for emotional comfort. And when I eat, I feel good. So as long as people are believing and finding comfort in foods that are junk foods, then I am not going to lose weight. I'm going to keep gaining weight. So the fat get fatter and the fit get fitter. It's a similar principle just applied. See, I had a heart attack when I was 12 years old. When I was 12, I was 210 pounds. I was borderline diabetic, I was high cholesterol, and I was high blood pressure. I already knew I was morbidly obese. I got rushed to the hospital, took my blood test, and I discovered each of these things. I didn't know much about diabetes at 12 years old, but I imagine that I was walking towards a precipice with 1 foot off, and if I kept going in the way that I would, then my life may never be the same again. And now I realize that type 2 diabetes can be reversed, but when I'm 12 years old, I was faced with a decision. I was the second fattest kid of an elementary school of about 1,000 students, and something had to change. If I did not master my emotions relating food, my beliefs about food, then this food and the emotions would master me, and it may consume my life. So I decided to eat healthier. I decided to learn what must I do to take care of this body that God has given me. And I started to learn about these 8 laws of health. I started to learn about healthier foods. I stopped eating sodas since I was 12, haven't touched one. I stopped eating donuts, and I stopped eating the junk food, started drinking more water, and I lost 50 pounds in 3 months, and I never put it back on again. But you see what happened there. What was able to create that transformation? Did you see the image? I was walking towards a precipice with 1 foot off, and I was about to take the next step. My life would never be the same again. That's an image. Because it was visual, it became emotional. And that was very painful. And that pain is something I wanted to move away from. And before, I didn't associate enough pain with my weight. I didn't want to be heavy set. I didn't want to lose my breath when I'm out in the woods hiking with my friends, or when I'm walking, or when I'm running around playing as a 12-year-old, or when I was going door to door selling, and I was hot and I was sweaty and I was out of breath, but I was selling to people. As a young entrepreneur, I didn't want to have those challenges. I knew that if I could walk faster, I can go to more doors, I can make more sales, but my weight was holding me back. It wasn't until I was faced with the realization that I'm pre-diabetic, that I'm about to be a diabetic, and my life will change. I'm like, that's not the type of life change that I want. So, and I wasn't diabetic yet, but I was going in that direction. Because the doctor was able to paint a picture that was so powerful and vivid in my mind, then I was able to influence my decision. Then I was able to shift, because it created a new emotion. And I had new emotional associations to my weights. Then I was able to shift and keep it off ever since. I'm 27 now, so that's 15 years. And I thank God for the health principles that He taught me from the Bible. Now, I share that with you because my point is every belief, every behavior is belief driven. If you want to to create buying behaviors in your audience, you need to learn to create buying beliefs. That's what sales is. But sales is the transfer of belief from the speaker to the buyer, to the prospect. And there's another aspect of transferring belief is recognizing the emotional state. Because in order for them to learn a new belief and create a buying behavior, in order for them to learn a buying belief that produces a buying behavior, you have to change their states. Because all learning is state dependent. I learned this from my memory mentor, Jim Quick, one of the world's best renowned brain coaches. He says that all learning is state dependent. So if there's two types of states that you could have. You could be in a losing state, or your audience could be in a losing state, focusing on what they don't have, they can't afford. They're looking at your offer like, oh, I can't afford that, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. Or the words that you're having them focus on is going to make them feel like, I can't afford that, I can't do that, the process is too hard, that it costs too much. Or the words that you use to focus their mind is going to make them feel like they're in a learning state, like I could do that, and that the price of the offer is smaller than the price of not taking advantage of your offer. And that's how it was when I was losing weight. The price of me continuing with my obesity is larger than the price of me stopping changing with my obesity. So I made the decision to switch. So like manner, all learning is state dependent. Your goal is not to get people to buy your stuff. Your goal is to create an environment with your words that puts people in a buying state, in an emotional state where they feel like buying your stuff, taking advantage of your offer, or doing what you are giving them the opportunity to do. Stop trying to get people to buy your stuff. Start creating an environment that causes them to feel like buying, and you'll be able to make sales. People will be lining up around the door, out the door and around the corner with cash in hand, excited and eager to pay you at whatever price you charge when you learn to master your emotions. So what we're talking about today is emotional mastery. I believe it's one of the highest paid skills in the marketplace. And when you can learn to manage emotion, manage the energy of a room, manage the energy of your audience, then you will be able to be greatly rewarded with more influence, more impact, and more income. And I believe that this world could be a better place because you got your message out there. If this is something that's interests you, then I want to share with you my new book, I Want to Mentor, Now What Do I Do? This book is written for authors, coaches, speakers, and other high-level entrepreneurs, and it's teaching you how you can meet master mentors that have results that you want, how you can maximize these mentorships. Whether you're investing in a coaching program, people pay $30,000, $50,000 for a mastermind or coaching program, and they don't even know what to do. So in this book, you're going to learn what you can do to be able to get the most out of your investments. When you invest in you, your mind is the number one greatest investment you could possibly invest in. If you want to learn how to master your emotions, you want to learn get on the path to emotional mastery, then this book is also going to teach you how to master high income skills like emotion mastery in half the time. So that you don't have to spend years trying to figure this out. You can learn in days what took others and some of my mentors decades to learn. And just grab a copy of this book, go to the website, iwantamentorbook.com, iwantomentorbook.com, and you can grab your copy today, and you can learn how you can master the skill of emotional mastery, exactly the steps of what to do. I look forward to seeing you in the next trainings, and definitely share this video if you thought it was valuable to others. Thank you so much, and remember, God doesn't call a qualified, He qualifies a called.